Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? This is one of those videos where something just struck me, and so I'm going to talk about it. So it's not terribly well prepared, it's not terribly well thought out, so you've been warned. But it's me, and it's my channel, so I'm going to do what I want. In our group of friends, somebody shared this Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, and I will tell you right now, I have not read it. I have not read, I think, the first one. I've read little snippets here and there about, I think the original concept, and certainly read quite a bit and talked quite a bit about this idea of being a lazy game master versus being a prepared game master. But it started a discussion, and it started kind of me thinking down a particular line, which kind of went a little awry of, I think, the original discussion, but it's me, and this is what happens. And the first thing I thought of though when I you think of the term of like lazy game mastering is that it encompasses so many different approaches that it's really impossible to talk about. It's kind of rendered meaningless without further clarification. What exactly do you mean? You look at a bunch of games and what they actually tell you what to do. And in certain games, you're told explicitly what to prepare, what elements to prepare, and maybe even explicitly telling you what not to prepare. Reading something like Sorcerer recently, it's very clear exactly what elements you prepare, exactly what elements you don't prepare. In my circle of hands, preparation. There's elements that I'm to prepare, and there's certain things that I'm not to prepare whatsoever. And sometimes games are very clear on this. Very often they're not. And what struck me is that if you look at the advice given out there, you look at the talking heads, I guess I'm a talking head, but you look at the talking heads out there, you look at the ink that has been spilled digitally and real ink, you look at the advice, you look at the blogs, you look at just, there's tons of stuff on the internet. The majority of the advice given to game masters is how to craft the story. How to prepare your story, and then how to herd your players through it. And, that's been my experience. You can certainly challenge me and tell me that's not true, but giving me one example doesn't count. I mean, just the lion's share out there appears to be geared towards that approach. How to make a story, how to prepare maybe if the game has stat blocks or whatever, get all those ducks in a row. But how to prepare your big story that you're going to have as a game master, your big sequence or chain of events, what's going to happen, and then how to herd the players through it, how to keep them on track. To make sure if they've wandered off course, how to get them back, how to get them to buy in, all those sort of things. Stuff I even talked about a video or so ago in terms of our litmus test for who do we want to play with. However, you think about all that and the advice given for this preparation of what's going to happen, the story, all that sort of stuff, how to make sure that people stay in line and are good little players. Imagine if the same sort of advice, or the counterpart to that advice, was given to players. What would it look like? And you see little bits and pieces here and there about your responsibility to respect the game master's time that they put into creating the adventure and all this sort of stuff. But imagine the counterpart to that sort of advice, the idea that the game master has crafted this story, they have a thing planned, and that it is your job to be very attentive to where they want you to go and to do what they want you to do, and then supply dialogue at the appropriate moments. What would your reaction to that be? What would most people's reaction to that be? I can tell you what my reaction to that would be, and sometimes has been, is like, well, I've got a better idea. How about you go screw yourself? I'm going to go play with somebody else, because that doesn't really interest me. Been there, done that, don't like it. And I've certainly been guilty of doing that to players. I've certainly, have caught myself, oh, I'm pushing a little bit too much in this direction. But just imagine the counterpart of that advice being given to you, given to us as players. What would our reaction be? And this reminds me of something that is in the Provisional Forge Glossary, something that Ron Edwards talks about every so often. It's called the impossible thing before breakfast. And just try this on for size. It's this idea, let me see if I can find I don't want to misquote this. The statement that, or a variation on the statement, that the GM is the author of the story and the players direct the actions of the protagonists. Think about that for a minute. Neither subclause in the sentence is possible in the presence of the other. How can those two things actually coexist? Anyhow, just a little thought that was rattling around in my brain as I thought about preparation in some of the places that it goes, and just the idea: what if advice was given to the players? As a counterpart of the mass amount of advice given to game masters. What do you think about that?